Antique Icebox Guide, everything you need to know. There were lives before refrigerator, and icebox is indeed the ultimate predecessor. The century-old furniture helped people to keep certain food/drink items cold. And an antique design can definitely set the value high for your existing decor. Innovative enthusiasts developed several ideas to upcycle or repurpose the box. Likewise, you can earn a considerable amount from an icebox from the past. Stay with the pro details on antique icebox identification for sale or purchase. Timeline of old day icebox. History of functional iceboxes isn't exactly very rich, with different periods. The actual designs to offer good freezing service dates back to 1830 only. Of course, there were some prototypes from early decades without potential longevity. Advancement in scientific approach, theory and implementation successfully invented the icebox. However, primary versions were made of wood instead of classic metal or modern-day polymer. The dresser-like structure featured solid hardwood, mostly integrating either oak or walnut pieces. Hollow walls had complete zinc or tin lining with particular insulation material. A good number of insulating materials characterized early iceboxes. The materials list includes flax straw fiber, cork, seaweed, sawdust, mineral wood and charcoal. Late 19th century observed the popularity of steel icebox to impart further durability and insulation. The metal structure managed to solve the wooden deterioration, resulting from watery contact. Specific changes in shape, capacity and features also managed to incorporate the newer designs. Consistent attempts of scientists to invent more viable devices resulted in modern-day refrigerators. And it started to occupy the households by the 1930s to replace iceboxes. However, poor people had to hold the antique pieces till the 1950s. Wooden icebox versus steel icebox. You should know the particular difference between early wooden iceboxes with late steel iceboxes. It can help you to understand the primary distinction of features to confirm the value. Wood was more like a protective surface for the structure from its outside. The built-in insulation material actually took an active part in the freezing mechanism. There were drainage holes to let the water out after getting melted. Multiple compartments allowed sufficient storage for food/drinks. Meanwhile, steel iceboxes integrated a completely metal design to induce greater insulation. Issues with classic wooden pieces were eliminated to promote practicality, acceptance and functionality. There were protective compartments with minimalistic complications to retain the freezing effect. 10 tips to identify genuine icebox. Just because you encountered a wooden or metal icebox doesn't necessarily mean its antiquity. Scams and frauds can easily get you to make a false purchase without proper authenticity facts. But checking the following points should save you from reproduction or false antiques on purchase. Whether it's wood or metal, early boxes can't feature top-quality structure. Even the slightest distortion in random orders suffices antiquity. Check the wooden surface closely to detect signs of deterioration. Visible cracks, chips, scratches, warps should appear at least one or more spots. Settle for a simple design with a minimal number of compartments. Too many storage spaces with ornate designs should indicate reproductions. Pay attention to the corners for anything out of general precision. The finishing on the edges may provide significant signs of classic wood pieces. Look into the joinery for particular signs of old-school craftsmanship work. Joining, screws, nuts, bolts must feature deteriorating rust over time. Observe the finishing from the inside surface without dislocating the insulator. Minimal finishing can appear on the sides to hold insulating materials. Determine the current condition or functionality of the insulating materials. Early materials should age out long ago to retain minimal applicability. Explore the slot to allow drainage of the melted water from the compartments. Genuine antiques must leave marks to identify the previous uses. Keep yourself cautious to detect moisture action on metal surfaces. Eventual rust, corrosion and damage is sure to cover steel portions by now. Know your seller or manufacturer prior to confirming the purchase. Anything reasonable to justify the trade should come into light with researches. How did antique iceboxes work? Many still wonder about the antique icebox functionality. Actually, it wasn't that far from modern-day refrigerators. The primary mechanism is pretty simple yet practical enough for early uses. Hollow walls inside the icebox had built-in zinc or tin lining to cover the entire structure. The combination had packed insulating materials for the individual freezing compartments. Large block of ice for foods/drinks was placed on a tray for storage. Meanwhile, some also placed the chunk of ice directly on the compartment surface. And the intended position was extremely close to the top section of an icebox. Cold air started to circulate around the entire space to cover the lower section. Only the finer models featured spigots or opening slots to drain the melted ice water. Inserted catch pan or holding tank kept storing the water to a certain capacity. But common and cheap ones required cleaning at intervals to skip logging. Modern application of antique icebox. Nobody actually requires an antique icebox for freezing as almost everybody owns a refrigerator. But antique icebox remains one precious, decorative and amazing collectible to hold your space. Also, you don't have to leave the internal storage compartments empty on display either. Check the impressive ideas from enthusiasts to repurpose/upcycle the valuable vintage icebox by yourself. Keep the seasonal items locked inside the icebox for a certain time. Blanket, coats, quilt, mattress, heavy clothing/garments in the compartments. Storage of non-essential items to create a mess on the loose. You can consider toys, personal items, hardware, mechanical accessories and others. Hide particular belongings to pose threats for the growing children. The concerned list may include almost everything, from grocery to medicine. Likewise, turn the antique into a mini safety measurement box with items. You can store first aid kit, necessary/occasional medicine and extinguishers. Check your favorite drinks inside the compartments during winter. There's no need to catch a cold with extremely down-cooled drinks from fridges. Set your flat TV right on the open surface on the antique piece's top. Hide the distracting wire connectivity inside using the integrated spigots. Organize the non-essential books, articles, magazines in the empty compartments. It can definitely induce a hidden library inside the room at once. Skip the absolute mess of kitchen or dining room occasional cutlery pieces. Store the dinnerware, kitchenware behind the doors to lessen the load. Place the antique icebox in your kid's room to teach him/her item organization. Let the child store its own belongings with a small-sized, lowered one. And you can even try the classic freezing mechanism when necessary. No need to overload the refrigerator space with too many foods/drinks. Also, there are many online resources available to enlighten your thoughts. You should check video depictions on Off-Grid with Doug and Stacy and Family Heritage Living. Antique icebox market value. You may have to pull a lot of strings when it comes to determining antique value. Not to mention, proper valuation is indeed the following part of appropriate antique identification. Appraisals seem a great way to skip the trouble of narrowing down the precise price range. Actual market value directly considers a great number of integrated factors to check its usability. You must check age, size, condition, material, authenticity and provenance to attend a good value. Even the properly restored or professionally refinished designs can attend good tag. Common antique iceboxes to feature standard usable condition should exceed $5,000 price. Meanwhile, the restored/refinished models can check $2,000 to $3,000 at once. However, extremely rare items to have provenance or good condition can even cost $10,000 or more. Not to mention, vintage designs from the 20th century should cost slightly less on purchase. Take part in online auctions to know the limit of antique iceboxes, depending on the details. Don't forget to keep yourself in touch with commercial websites' exclusive collection of iceboxes. Where to find antique wooden icebox? Finding genuine antique pieces always seems like a treasure hunting operation. And a dependable sale or purchase of an icebox remains similar to the intended choice. It's almost impossible to predict stumbling upon anything awesome or annoying. In fact, a genuine antique icebox is somewhat rare in comparison to other furniture pieces. That's where you may not find any collectible option in reputed sites. Still, you should check the options available on eBay, Vintage Appliance, Bargain John and William Austin's Antique. Local antique shops aren't exactly a solid choice to find authentic iceboxes from the past. Don't hesitate to look into online as well as offline resources for suggestions. Surf the internet to explore potential platforms to deal with antique/vintage iceboxes. Final words. Compact structure with simple design lets you fit the decor to serve different purposes. All you need is to clarify the requirements for checking the perfect icebox. You can certainly enjoy additional facts from the resources to ensure a precise investment.